So do you want to create stunning images that will go with your academic publication? Whatever that publication is, whether it's a PhD thesis or maybe an undergraduate report or just any kind of maybe a paper publication, whatever it is, I'm going to give you some of the tips and tricks that I've got in creating the most amazing, the most stunning, the most exciting images that can go with your publication. If this is what you want to do, then sit back and relax as we get into this video. So we're going to work with Stephen, who is a student of mine who got to the point where he wants to create the undergraduate thesis, and so he's grappling with how to get the best images that he wants to use in his report. So I'm going to show him how he can go and do this. So the first thing that Stephen wants to do is that he's found some really exciting images in an academic publication, and one of the images that Stephen has found is this graph, and he's using it as part of his literature review. And so he finds that in order to communicate the concept of his literature review, this image will be amazing for him to use. And so he wants to sort of grab this image and put it into his report. And so how best can we grab this image to make it very exciting? So what I would suggest that Stephen will need to do is to zoom in. So this is a PDF document. So if you press Control, you can zoom in and roll all the way until the image you are interested in fills the screen. Okay, so this is a good size. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to grab this image. So what most students will probably do is to use print screen, and print screen will just capture everything on the screen, and then they'll go on to go and adjust that. But this is not a good way to do it. So now that you've got a maximum resolution, at least you're going to exploit this high quality of image in your image gathering. So we'll go to the search bar of this Windows application and look for this tool called the snipping tool. So if I type the snipping tool and bring it up, so it's an app, you can look for it in also the list of the apps that you have. So it comes up as a simple app like this. So we click on the new. So what it will do is I come into this grayed out image, and then we can select the regions that we want. So we want just to have a tight fit around the image. So if we do a right tight fit around the image, so we've grabbed it. So if you go to again the app, you can see the image is right there. Now we can take this and put it into our report. So there is this option here which says copy. So we can copy or just do Ctrl+C to copy. So we've copied the image, and then we can now go to the report that Stephen is working with. So we'll bring it to the document. So he wants to paste that data into this place. So what you want to do is that you want to go to paste and paste special. Don't just paste directly. You really want to paste special. But there is a format that I'm looking for which is not here. And that is a format that is suitable for working within Microsoft Word document. And so it's not one of the options that there is a bitmap option and a PNG option. So I will cancel that. So I'll go to a PowerPoint environment and then just paste that document. So if I paste, so I've got the image here, then I can at this stage right click again and click copy. So the idea here is that now that I've pasted it into a Microsoft Word document type, then I can then go and manipulate it and use it in my report. So if I go back to a Microsoft Word document, which is a thesis document, I can then look at paste special. So when you do paste special, what we're looking for is this enhanced meta file. This is a format of image that I really would encourage Stephen and every student who is watching this to use, because this type of image file has a high resolution but also a very lightweight image. It's configured to fit within Microsoft Word document effectively. So I can't over recommend the importance of pasting all your images as an enhanced meta file, because one of the challenges that students have is that after pasting your document, you find that the files is so big. And that's because you're using things like the bitmap or the PNG and the JPEG. JPEG is a better version, but I will go with an enhanced meta file for every Microsoft Word document that you're working with. So and then click OK. So now the document comes right in within the space, and you could see it inherits the same level of resolution as in the original PDF document where this information is coming from. And the other thing I want to do with this image is that, again, I'll press Ctrl and Shift together and then try and adjust it a bit so that I could have it sort of somewhere about. Usually the rule of thumb I will always work with, and then I centralize it, I will always work with is to have the image capturing about 75% of the width of the report that you're writing, not the height, the width, because you want to show off that data as excellently as possible. So having it in this form will be okay. And then of course you provide a label for this image. Okay, so because we are getting this image from a journal publication, so I would also add the source or just credit where this image is coming from, because you have actually declaring that it's not your image and it's an image that is published. So this is the first type where you're harvesting your image from a journal publication. The second type of image that you want to bring into your report is an Excel data. So Stephen has also done some experiments and then generated some Excel data, and he wants to find what is the best way to get that data into his report. So this is sort of the data that we have here. So what we've got here is the x-axis, and there's some exponential, different type of plots. Whatever it is doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to select all of it. I can plot this data, so by inserting and plotting sort of a graph. So you've got a dice data that looks like this from your plot, and you want to see if you can use this data into your report. So there are a few things that you can do to optimize and make this image better. So of course the first thing is that we probably need to change the title. So the title is fine. I normally wouldn't like to have the guidelines, so I will normally click on them and delete, and then right here I could right click here and then go to the outline and make that black, and then I'll probably make it a little bit of a higher weighting just to make the lines to stand out. So I'll do the same thing, right line, outline, and then make the line probably just a little bit, about 3 points will be fine. So maybe 2.25 will be fine. So we've got those data looking the way they want. Again, I don't want this legend to be the way it is, so I'll just raise it up a bit and then push it down so that at least it will become a vertically showing legend. Then I can then put it somewhere at the top here so that again it stands out very clean and very nice within my report. The other thing I notice here, which I don't particularly like, is that if you look at the text here, the text is not standing out very strongly. You know, it's sort of grayish. So I'm going to select it and then go to home and then select under the text and make all the text to stand out as black. And then of course you want to also increase the font sizes. So it's really important that you increase the font size, because it may be looking good here, but by the time you take this data and put into your report, you're going to have to condense this file a bit, and so it may not look as good as possible. So we probably want to increase the font size to something around 16 will be good. Maybe Calibre is not a good option. I'll probably want to stay with Arial. So Arial plots are usually quite nice. So we can again check what is going on here. So with the legend, you may have to reduce the legend a bit. Okay, so that looks sort of okay. So the other thing is that you may not like the regularity of the numbers that are here. So all we need to do is that we go to the axis options. So I need to change this axis options with a measure step of 1. And then we'll do the same on that. So I'll go back here and change the axis option with a measure step of 25 instead of 50, just to have more regular set of data if that's what you are interested in doing. Okay, and then so the final thing is that the boundary data, I will probably remove the boundary line and say I don't want any outline, because I want a clean set of data that I can use. And then final thing, if you go to the chart design, so you may have to change the color type if you don't like the color system that is using, so you can oscillate through these different colors and find something that is sort of okay. So this looks probably like okay, but there's some of them that I don't like, so I could select this one and then right click and say okay, I want to use a different few colors. I want it to be red, both outline and both of them are red. Maybe this I want it to be black, so I'll fill it with black, both outline and fill. So it's beginning to look sort of okay. And maybe this one that is blue, I can change that to sort of a brighter blue. So whatever you do, and then this looks quite distinctively dull, so I could then probably maybe try and make it a bit yellow with some kind of line like that. So everything around this data looks okay. So then I could now right click and click copy, then go to my thesis document. So if I go to my thesis document, then I could then again paste special. So if you paste special, so now it has a memory that this is actually a Microsoft Word document, so the picture is enhanced beta file. So with that, again, you have an excellent graph from Excel, you know, distinctive in the kind of colors that you have, and everything looks okay. And so when someone sees this in your report, they'll really like what you have done. And so that's the second way, the second picture type that you may be interested in. So the third image type that you may also be interested in using for your work is, let's say you have a nice PowerPoint image that has been created. It looks, you know, very good. So it's been created in PowerPoint, everything, you know, nice image, and I'll put draw a line around it and click Ctrl+C to copy, and then I'll go to my thesis document and right where you want that to be. Another way, you can either use Paste Special or Alt-ES. Alt-ES will bring the same document and then you bring it out. So that way you have also harvested something excellently from your PowerPoint data, and you're using that. So we could then, so yeah, so you got the schematics for that, and then it shows it. So everything again, remember the advice that it has to be about 75% of the page. You need to fill 75% of the page. The choice of the sketching is excellent, and this is a third type of image that you may want in your report. So the fourth type is an ABAQUS plot. So Stephen is working with me, and he has created some ABAQUS profile, and he wants to see how he's going to get some lovely images from that. So if you look here, so this is the ABAQUS data that Stephen is generated. So it's basically a shear simulation on the YZ plane. So it looks like this. So if we animate this a bit, it shows that. So he wants to get some of this really lovely data into his report. But if you put it in this format, it's probably not going to be that exciting. So we're going to change it to a plastic strain format so that you can clearly show the layer by layer deformation of this model. And this is sort of what you want. Now, if you take this data the way it is, then all this extra information will be in the report, and that's not good. So what Stephen needs to do is to go to viewport annotation options, and then just set off everything, set all off, and then only activate the triad and the legend. And then within the legend section, you change the font type because you want it to be very visible in your report. So I would normally go to as far as 18. So a distinctively nice font size. You can even make it a little bit more, so that the data will stand next to the profile in a nice way. So we want that. You can also just type whatever number you want if you don't want to use what is pre-selected, and then you apply that. The other thing you want to do is you want to remove the bounding box. I want the bounding box to be removed so that this can stand nicely within itself. I mean, you can show the maximum and minimum data if you want, but again, this is not typically what is interesting because you can read that in the document. So everything there looks fine. So you can go to the triad and maybe do the same thing that you've done before. So within the triad, so you can set the label font to be about 20 like the other one. So again, it stands very unique in its position. I want to move this to closer to the specimen, so I could then say maybe this is 20. I'll check where it goes. So yeah, and then maybe this is 15, so it comes up. So maybe we can make it 20, so it will be closer to the specimen and everything looks beautiful. So I can then zoom in so that I'll make sure that I have my image looking perfect in the way it should be. So one of the things students will normally do at this stage is to say, okay, fine, I can go and use the snipping tool and just snip that image. Okay, so if we snip the image, and then we can do what we've done before, just copy that data, so, and paste it inside this PowerPoint window. And from this PowerPoint window, you copy it and then go back to here and paste it as a special document and an enhancement file, and this is the data. So most students will normally do this, and so but the problem with this is that you have all this black background and it's not looking really as good as it's supposed to be. So if we go back here, so one of the options I would probably do is that I will do some further work on this. So if I go to options and then common, so I don't want to see the meshing, so I'll normally sell it only the exterior edges will be shown, or the future edges will be shown, so that you have a clean deformation profile, because the essence of a contour plot is show the deformation profile. So I'll take out what the mesh is before, and then I have a nice document like this. Then I will go back to and say file, print, but instead of printing, normally the normal print will print to file. We'll print to file. The options here are black and white, grayscale, but color is the first, the option you want, and then you can find where you want it to go. Okay, so you can navigate to the location. So I could just say BDYZ share example. Okay, so I'll put a name to it, and it's normally in a PNG format. The other format, but I'll normally work with a PNG format, which is an image format. So I've given the file name to this. I'm printing to a file, and then click OK. Then some other options that you have here is to say, okay, I want to reduce the image size to a 256 color. I don't want that. I want a maximum resolution. So it's recommending a screen size of this. This is the screen size of this image that I'm using. But I could also decide to just, use something about 2 megabytes. So 2000 times this is 2 megabytes of image. So I could work with that if that's, so I'll just change it to something like this. So this will guarantee that I have a very high resolution image for my ABAQUS plot. And the other thing is here, we want it to print the viewport decorations if feasible. So there's clearly no decorations here, so we're going to leave it. So I don't want it to print the viewport backgrounds because I don't want these colored regions to be there. I also don't want it to print the viewport compass. So normally there's a compass around here. I don't want it. So just this default is fine. And then you click OK. So what it will do is that it will go and open the file wherever it is. So I'm going to copy the link to that file. Okay, and then if I go back to my document, which is here, so I can put it right underneath. If I say okay, insert pictures, so from this device, and then I can paste the link where that of what I've copied, and you can see it comes right into the document looking clean. There's a clean white background, the image stands out very clear, and then we can then go ahead and use the picture format, the cropping to just make sure that we are, we are creating a tight image around the sample, and then we have a lovely image of the ABAQUS simulation. So you can compare it with what we have before, and clearly, in my opinion, this looks a lot much better. So you can read clearly what the legend says, you can read the image, and this is one of the tricks of finding an excellent ABAQUS plot for your report. So one of the other software that students use a lot is MATLAB. So let's look at MATLAB. So I've got a script here that I can run. So if I run this script, so after running the script, so this is sort of the data that we find. So it's the same data that came from the Excel plot. And so we want to also take this data and put into our file. If we copy it like this and paste into our report, it may not always come out very clean. So you want to increase and make it a little bit more beautiful. Click there. So the property inspector for MATLAB, we can begin to make some changes to what we have. So for example, the general font size, I will probably increase that to maybe 16. Just to make it stand out, because remember, we're going to take this and put it into our report and we're going to shrink it, and as a result it's not going to stand out very well. So the X tick, which is the space in between this, I'll just again come here and put semicolon 1 and semicolon again. So this changes it to that, and then in terms of the y-axis, again I'll go here and colon 25 colon. So that gives me the data, and then click enter. So we've got a nice show of what the data looks like in this point, and then I can put this in the middle. Okay, the other things are the grid lines. I don't usually like to have grids on my data, so this is fine. So I would normally have a box around the data, and most of it looks all right. So maybe some of them you may want to make this line width to be probably a bit stronger, intense. This I can also change that to a line width of 2 to make it bolder, and maybe I could also, probably pink may not be the best color for this. I could then change this pink color to maybe a blue color, and generally everything looks okay with this data. Then the final thing I need to do with this is to go to edit, and then copy figure. So this is the best way to copy an image from MATLAB. So you copy the figure and you go to your report, and then the same paste special. Okay, so it's picked that there is an enhanced beta file, which is what we want, and then we'll leave that there. So again, this way you have a really nice, so even when you make it 75%, the data is still readable, because one of the problems students have all the time is that their data is not always readable. To know how this will look when you print it, go to view and then look for 100%. So if this is how it's going to view when you view it, so you could then decide to, okay, I want to increase it a little bit so that it will be easier for the assessors that are looking at this document to be able to read through that data. So the final type of image that you want is from an experiment. So let's say you've done some experiment. As part of your experiment, you've generated a few images. So one of the things you want to do is to be able to manage those images and put them properly. So I've got one, and this is basically this image. So I've already assembled the image. So basically this is a double notch shear test experiment. So we've got a specimen like this. So it's right here, and we're compressing it from the top, and the specimen looks nicely in this way. So that's the specimen, and this is the fixture that you're using to measure that. So this is a zoomed in image, but you don't only want to show that, you also want to show the arrangement of the experiment. So this is what the arrangement of the experiment would be. So you put a bit of the arrangement, and then I use these lines to guide the reader to show what's really going on here. So if there's a particular aspect of your diagram that you want to emphasize, so use this kind of a zooming fixture to zoom into that region and open up and show what is happening. And then of course you use the lines to annotate what you're doing. So there's a laser instantometer that measures movement between this and this, and then there is a enhanced field machine, which is an universal testing machine, and of course the light source, because there's a camera that is not in this picture. So again, you may also want to show a camera that is capturing this image. So once you've arranged it in this way, then you can copy that data, go back to your report, and then Alt-ES and paste it in that environment. So that shows you again a nice setup of which, if you put it in the experiment, it's a stunning data and it tells the story very well. So that's your MATLAB plot and that's your ABAQUS plot. This is not a plot that I recommend. This is a PowerPoint sketch plot and then Excel plot and then something you're harvesting from an experiment. So these are all the sort of data that you want to use in creating stunning images that can go with your publication. It's also possible that you want to use these images on a poster presentation that you're going to take to a conference rather than just on a thesis. So if you're looking at insight on how to create a poster, then these two videos will help you see how to create a poster, one with PowerPoint and then the second one with Canva. Thanks for your interest in this video and I'll see you in the next. Bye bye.